what's up, Mason Jones? How's it going?
Very good. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thank you for making the time for it. I see you're sporting both belts. Are those things heavy, man?
Oh, mate, they're so heavy. You don't realize when you look at them how heavy they are. People are always surprised. But yeah, it feels good. And now I'm ready to sort of trade them in and start fighting my way through the UFC and earning my place in there in our organization.
Awesome. And have you like taken the time to really process all of this? I mean, how do you feel right now that you have the time to actually appreciate your work?
Well, uh, that's a hard question. I have taken the time and I've sort of really evaluated, and we've done some fight breakdowns and really picked on my sort of my successes and especially my numerous critiques that I did in that fight. But to be fair, it's even though this means a stupid amount to me, and it meant a lot more to win the second than it did the first, because the first one, even though it meant a lot to my family, my coaches, it wasn't such a big thing to me. It was something I wanted to do, but it wasn't. It was just a milestone. Whereas this was quite unexpected for me, even though it's what I asked for, and that I had chased that fight and I secured that fight myself, and obviously went out there and did what I did. It wasn't something that had been on the horizon for a long time, whereas the 155 belt was something I've been targeting before I made my pro MMA debut, back when I'm still pro boxing. So when I passed across and when I did target this, this was like I always expected to win that 155 belt. Like I always knew I was going to do it. It was just going to be a stepping stone. I was going to win that 155 belt. I was going to defend it, and then I was going to move on to UFC and start earning my way through that division. And then this fight come up. I secured that fight. I chased that fight, mastered that fight, and obviously it went. And then yeah, I was really emotional for a change. Like normally after the fights, you see I celebrate, but I always keep it quite low key. And this time I really enjoyed myself in my celebrations afterwards, and got a bit excited. But yeah, now I'm ready. I'm looking forward again. I'm ready to give these back, and I'm ready to start earning through the UFC division and sort of chip away at that.
Awesome. So there was no way you were leaving Cage Warriors without becoming champ then. That was the objective the whole time.
Well, becoming the lightweight champion was the main goal. And then when this fight sort of fell into my lap, so the circumstance in this fight, Rhys McGee, who made his UFC debut, was meant to fight Adam Proctor for, which one was this? This strap, the welterweight one. Then he got signed on a 6-day notice fight. Obviously, you've seen how that fight went against Chimaev. Crazy fight, big risk, and but now he's signed and he's ready to start chipping his way through the UFC. When I knew he was signed, I speak to Rhys. I've been up in Sparta with Rhys, so me and Rhys speak a lot. As soon as I knew that fight was there, I text my manager, Graham Ploylan, who is the general manager of Cage Warriors, and said, look, Rhys McGee's gone. Adam Proctor doesn't have an opponent. You haven't got me an opponent yet. I want to fight Adam Proctor for the welterweight strap. He sort of just sent me loads of laughing faces back and literally said, look, we'll speak about it. And I said, I really want that fight, make it happen. And to be fair, he rang me back and said, look, that fight's yours. Don't mess it up. And obviously I didn't. So yeah, it was a risk, but I'm not here to sort of take low risk, low reward fights. Like I want those big fights. Like I'm not looking now to make my debut. I don't want to fight someone who's 3-0. I don't want to fight someone who's 1-1. I don't want to fight anyone who's 5-2. Like I want to be fighting those big names. I want to be sort of chipping my way and sort of proving that I can stand with that division. And like UFC is such a diverse division, organization, and the 155 division is a shark's pool. Do you know what I mean? It is full of the top predators. That's the way it is. And like I want to prove I can stand with those boys, and I want to start earning my way, and I want to start taking those fighters apart. And I'm saying this now, and there's going to be a lot of people watching this podcast who's going to be like, yeah, we've heard this before. Just give me a year. Just give me a year to show exactly what I can do and show what I'm going to do to that division, and you'll see, and you'll know.
So diving into the UFC, hopefully one day your preferred division will be the 155 division.
Yeah, like I weighed in for that fight in 77 kilos. By the time I fought, I was 80 kilos. Like I was a lightweight going into that fight. I didn't gain a stupid amount of weight. I did the same weight cut. Like I could have made lightweight for that fight. I did the normal lightweight cut I do because that's when I feel strong. That's when I feel fast. And I'm aggressive, I'm dangerous, and I showed that in that fight. Like I was walking his shots too, and he's a 170, he's a proper 170, 6'3". I'm sure he fought me at about 88 kilos, which is that's big, man. Obviously you work in pounds, don't you? So what's that? 205, 210 pound, 205, 210.
Around that, yeah.
Yeah, 205. So yeah, do you know what I mean? Like he's a big guy, and I tore him apart. And I took that fight not sort of to wet my feet in the welterweight division, but just to prove that I'm the most dangerous lightweight in Europe. And anyone who's got a problem with that, I'll happily show them exactly who I am.
And did that fight go as you planned it out, or did you think it was weird that it went the way it went down? How you actually got it done pretty easy, I'd say. Did
Yeah,
did it actually go as you planned it, or did you see it going differently?
I saw it going a bit differently. Yeah, I saw him sort of coming out a bit faster than he did. I saw the fight sort of being more 50-50 than it was. I'm not giving Adam more credit. I just landed good shots and I exploited weaknesses very well. And after I sort of dropped him the first time, it sort of rattled him a little bit, and he didn't adjust well. Obviously, he managed to sort of shoot a takedown, caught me a nice takedown that I scrambled up from. That should have been the end of that round. There was no way I should have sort of escaped the way I did, but I did. I turned it around and I come back on him again. I think it took me like 20 seconds to escape from the ground exchange and come back onto him. Not that I couldn't have kept the wrestling exchanges if I wanted. I could have taken him down and I could have probably subbed him, but I knew he was rattled on his feet and I put the pressure on. But I expected it to be a sort of end of the second, early third round stoppage. I expected to hurt him at the end of the second bad and then to sort of put him away in the third. I expected to have to slow him down first and to really start causing damage before he broke. But first couple of exchanges, I knew straight away. That's why I was quite sort of open with the way I pressed. Like I wasn't worried about his shots back. Like he caught me with some big shots, nothing that hurt. I made sure I blocked up, but he caught me with a nice jab twice. Just because his arms are so long, like I was pushing into range and I was having to push on quite quick to get through his and to get past his hands. And it's sort of like that mentality of trying to get past a spear where if they catch you at the end, it's going to hurt because the weight and the length is behind it. But yeah, everything went to plan and everything went better than I expected. So I was happy and my coaches were happy, even though we've got a lot of analysis to do because there was certain things in that fight that none of us were happy with. There was things I said I wouldn't do that I did. And obviously there's always room for improvement. So we'll do analysis, but I'm back in camp. I was back in camp on Monday. People thought I was a bit crazy about that, but to be honest, I did a 4-minute round. I didn't take any damage. There was no marks. There was no cuts. I did a 4-minute hard round, which was basically like some of the sparring exchanges I have. And then I was done, do you know what I mean? So I'm ready to go. I'm ready for the short notice fights UFC is going to throw at me. So I'm ready to go anytime from this weekend on. So I'm just waiting for that call.
Awesome. And did you really get to feel that power difference from division to division, or even the size difference? Did you feel the difference?
I wouldn't say there was a power difference. Obviously, you could see the way I was hitting him. I was hitting him hard. And like he's fought some very well-known welterweight strikers in Cage Warriors. He's fought some guys who were dangerous in what they do, and they're striking. And I don't think anyone's hit him the way I've hit him. So that showed my power. But strength-wise, when he leaned over the top of me and when I pressed him against the cage after I dropped him the first time, that was when I really felt the weight. And it was sort of, he was hard to peel away from. Like I controlled the 2-on-1. And I was going to use it to exchange some strikes, and he was throwing some elbows, so it was just better to clear out and go back to where I was strong and exploiting him in that boxing range. And I did exactly as we thought. Like I'm calm when I fight, even though I am, like Adam said, he thought I'd be too emotional. I'm always really relaxed. Like I was sleeping before the fight. My coaches woke me up to start warming up. Like that's the way I always do it, and that's the way I did it. I was relaxed, I was calm, I enjoyed my walkout, and I went in there and I showed exactly who I am. So like there's not going to be any mistakes for me. I'm not going to go into UFC now, and I'm not going to sort of get caught in that spotlight. I'm not going to get weighted down. I'm not going to worry about this 10-0 record and being undefeated, and people are like I don't worry about that. Like that's not a priority. If I lose, I lose. It'll hurt, but I'll always rebuild. But I don't go in there with worrying about stuff like that. I go in there just to enjoy myself and just to show exactly who I am and what I can do. And I go in there to destroy people. I go out there to dismantle. And like, I was looking back at my career, in 10 fights, I've lost one round. And now one referee gave him the one round, and that was against Donovan Desmay. Every other fight, I've won every single round. I've had 4 TKOs, 3 submissions, and 3 decisions. And I've gone into some of those fights with bad injuries, and I've gone into some of those fights fresh. And I've learned lessons in every single one of them. So when I'm ready to go into the UFC, when they decide I'm ready, which I'm ready now, when they decide to send that contract, which isn't going to be long, you are going to see exactly what a Welsh Dragon can do.
All right, so you're expecting a call pretty soon from the UFC then. Would you have, well, given your resume is amazing. You definitely deserve a direct debut into the UFC. But you see some other guys going into the Contender Series, guys coming up from the Ultimate Fighter or looking for a fight. Would you prefer a tune-up like that, or you think you're just ready to dive in there?
I'm ready to dive in. So the way I'm looking at it now, with how busy UFC is and the way they're matching fights, I'm staying ready for a call-up, and I'll fill in any 155 spot they need. If that's against a guy who's 25-0 and on a 5-fight win to the UFC streak, I'll happily go in there and end the streak. It doesn't matter. Like, whether people believe it or not, I feel I'm ready to fight some of the top 10 in the division. And I think there's ways to beat everyone. And even though the way we joke about it with my coaching team is you've just got to be ready to dive in there and see if you're going to swim or whether you're going to sink. And I excel against high level opposition. Like, the better the opposition I have, the better version of me you see. It's when people sort of aren't as clinical, aren't as tight. They sort of, I get lenient in fights. That's when you see me make mistakes. When it's against people who are high level and dangerous strikers, you'll see the best version of me you'll ever see.
And that's what I was checking out. I was checking out your record, and I saw you post about it today earlier too, that you're a real 10-0 fighter. I mean, no padding whatsoever in that record. I saw the combined fight record of your opponents. It was insane.
96 and 17, or 92 and
Yeah.
17.
And well, that's got to help a lot because we see a lot of organizations pad records up to create these prospects, but as soon as they get to the big stage, they crash. So I think your record is a pretty great resume and definitely deserves a direct UFC debut. And given that experience, like you said, you're just 10-0, but those are fights you gain a lot of knowledge from. So it's not
I
just
agree.
any 10-0 record.
Yeah, I've never fought anyone with a losing record. Like, the worst record for the 2 people I fought are people who have had the same amount of losses as they've had wins, and that was early on in my career when I was coming through. But like, they literally, because the matchmakers knew who I was, and they knew that I was always game for exciting fights. Like, I never wanted to fight the nobodies in the division. I never really wanted those fights. I was looking at someone the other day, and their record was, I'm not going to say names, obviously, but they were when they were like 10-0, they were fighting guys who were 0-0-0 records. And then when they were 11-0, they were fighting guys with like something stupid like 17 wins and 25 losses and stuff like that. And like guys from nobody organizations. And I just don't understand what you gain out of that. Like, I've never wanted to go in a fixed match. I've never understand that. Like, I go in there. I don't even go in to go to war with people. Like I said, I go in there to dismantle the best fighters I can. Like, that's what I get a thrill out of. I like going in against someone who's got the most clinical, the most dangerous striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu games, and I like just tearing them apart and making them look average. And that's what you're going to see. You are going to see me fight some of the best in the world and make them look average. And you see the top strikers in the world do that. Like, Adesanya fought Costa on the weekend, and I thought that was a fantastic fight. Like, not much happened, but Costa got literally showed up. Like, he could do nothing. So Adesanya was picking him up. He made him feel stupid. And then when he wanted to, he started throwing those clean kicks. Boom, boom. And, like, he didn't even start to land before he dropped him and started falling up. Like, if I got another round, I could see Adesanya absolutely dismantling Costa. And that's why I'm going to show. Like, that's what good strikers do. That's what unbelievable strikers do. And I'm learning every time. Like, I spar with a guy who's 25-2 as a pro boxer. He's fought for a world he's fought George Groves for World Championships. That's Jamie Cox. When I get out to Cali, I'm training with Bellator fighters, UFC welterweights, UFC lightweights, UFC featherweights, some dangerous guys in different areas. And I can hang with them. I'm training with Bellator fighters here. I'm training with like top legit strikers here, and I'm proving that I can stand with them. And that's why I'm going to keep going. You're always going to improve, and I'm just going to keep going from strength to strength. And generally, this is just that, like, for a lot of people, and I've said to my girlfriend before this, before the Adam Proctor fight, I said, look, I said, this time next week, I said, a lot more people are going to know, like, this is my breakthrough fight. This is when I'm really going to start breaking the doors down for people. And people sort of, they saw the weigh-ins, especially a lot of British people. They saw the weigh-ins, and all the comments I seen, there was some of the Welsh who was backing me, and generally if I turned up with my arm missing, they'd still be backing me. Like, that's the Welsh support. They'd be like, yeah, he can do it. They would know. But there was a lot of comments saying, look, the guy's too big. He's going to be too strong. I think Mason's bit off more than he can chew. Like, the height difference. Like, I'm 5'10". I think Adam Proctor was 6'3", 6'2" or 6'3" in between those two. And it was about 10 kilos difference, which is about nearly 2 stone, just under 2 stone difference by the time we fought. And they were like, look, he's too big, he's too strong. But I'm dangerous anywhere it goes. Like, I finished guys standing up, and I finished very, very good jiu-jitsu guys on the ground. I'm a black belt in I've got a black belt in BJJ, and that's a well-earned black belt. Like, I never do anything with half the measures. I'm a national judoka who's fought all over Europe. I fought numerous high-level people. I fought Olympians, I fought world champions, and I fought all over for Team GB and Team Wales. I've got high level striking. I was a pro boxer. I actually started in kickboxing, and I work a lot with high level taekwondo fighters. Always improving, and to be honest, still kicking is still my weakest aspect, and I've ended fights with my kicking. So just wait until everything clicks. Like I said, I'm trying to take the training wheels off now. I'm really sure what I can do, but you are going to see fights where I'm just going to be knocking people out left, right, and center.
All right, and now given that you make it to the UFC pretty soon, as we think, which will be pretty soon, I assume, that's the pinnacle of all combat sports, right? And that puts you amongst athletes who have made it to their pinnacle of their sport, especially Welsh athletes, Lucy Carrot Bell, Ryan Giggs. That's going to put you up there along with them. How does that feel?
That, again, that's another amazing question. I don't know. Ask me when I get there. Like, I already I'm big on imaging myself the way I want to be seen. So I'm big on I try and hold myself the way I believe a champion should hold. I believe training the way a champion should train. So I train every day, or maximum, this week I've trained every day. Normally I train 5 days a week, 3 days, 5 days a week, 3 times a day. I get my runs in, I get my sparring sessions, I get my S&C sessions, and I get my low intensity sessions in. I work with best of the best, and I always try to improve. And I've had guys who've literally had 2 fights come up and ask me why I do things, and I've had them ask me how I do things and ask me why do I do things this way, and they've showed me stuff that I take in. Like, I'm always open to taking advice from people, whether they're 2-0 as a Muay Thai fighter, or whether they're 100-0 as a pro Thai fighter, or whether they're jiu-jitsu experts, or they're blue belts. Do you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter to me. I'm always open to take on advice, and I believe that's why I'm going to be the greatest in the world, because I will literally listen to anyone, and I'll try anything out, and I'll always experiment with things, and I'll take things from other martial arts that people think and look at as an embarrassment. I'll try and make it work. And you've got to be open. Like, this is a sport that anything you learn, it opens the mind sometimes, and it's mental chess. I always say it that way. It's not so much who can hit the hardest, it's how you land. It's the timings on things, and you're going to see exactly what I can do. Just wait.
And Mason Jones, given that you did not choose the way of MMA or any martial art, what sport do you think you would have excelled at?
Ooh, these are unbelievable questions. Genuinely, these are really, really good questions. Normally I get asked the same thing, so I have like pre-written answers. No, I'm joking. I like boxing. I really like boxing. But then, I like kneeing people in the head, and I like kicking people. But obviously they don't like that too much in boxing. So But no, seriously, I would have liked to have boxed, but with the way the pro circuits are in the UK, it's hard to break through unless you have an extensive amateur record. And I was too busy doing the elite level judo to sort of box when I was younger. But yeah, I would have liked to have boxed. Wrestling in the UK is a lot lower level than anywhere else. And judo I enjoyed, but it was just such a difficult sport for me. Like, it's not something I ever excelled at. It's something I forced myself to do because I knew that the end game would make me worth it. And it shows in my wrestling exchanges. Do you know what I mean? Like, I throw high level wrestlers all the time. So to be fair, I don't know, because MMA I like because it's everything. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can make it a jiu-jitsu match, but then you can also strike, you can elbow, you can knee, you can make it a stand-up war, and then you can also change the levels. It's wrestling exchanges, you fight in. Like, how do you beat an unbelievably good wrestler like Khabib? And it's like, well, that's what I like about it. It's like you're trying to figure fighters out. If you're fighting a fighter who literally hits that hard that he's knocking people out left, right, and center. How do you beat that guy? Like, do you know what I mean? So these are what I like. I like the mental aspect of it. I like the physical aspect of it. So it's a hard question for me. I'd probably go. I'd mix more jiu-jitsu and I'd probably go into boxing. But I couldn't pick one. Like, I'm in love with the sport.
And at what age did you start? What age did you realize I love beating people up?
Well, if you ask my parents, from the time I could walk, I was always trying to fight. They said I was literally running around in Superman and Batman costumes and Spider-Man costumes and hitting people. And they stopped me doing rugby and football. Rugby's the Welsh national sport, so it's a bit like American football, but less padding. And I just wanted to fight. So I started martial arts when I was 7, but there wasn't very much around that at the time. But I started kickboxing, and the club I first started with, they did early aspects of MMA, and I've just gone from there. But I knew I wanted to go into MMA when I was about 9-10 years of age. In between those two, there was guys in the gym who was running early MMA shows, and they were all training just to do MMA. Like, they were watching the old UFCs, and that was what they wanted to do. And I think from a young age, I knew that was exactly that I was going to be a fighter. So it's been a long time, and I've spent every day grinding. I got at 15 years of age. Well, younger than that, 13 years of age, I was training 5 days a week. After school, I was in the gym. I did like three set sessions some nights, back to backs. And to me, it was just the way it was. When I was 15, I was in the national team, and they'd take me out of school to compete, and we was training again as much as possible. And when I was 16, I stepped into the proper world of full-time training, and sort of left schooling behind to chase it more. So I've always been driven. I've always known what I wanted to do, and now you're just starting to see the result, and you're just going to see the level I am to everyone else.
And how did your parents and family react to the fact that you were leaving school behind and dedicating yourself fully to this? How did they react?
To be fair, they've always been unbelievably supportive. There's always ways of stuff. There's things and ways I could sort of fall back on if I needed to. So they never worried that if I got a bad injury or if something went catastrophically wrong, that I would sort of have no route. They always knew there was options for me. So they've been nothing but supportive, and they knew as well from the time I was young I was always going to be a fighter one day. It stresses my mum out, actually. So she couldn't watch this fight live because obviously the COVID-19 situation in the UK. So they watched it from a hotel room in Manchester. And my brother's girlfriend was Googling 5 minutes for my fight, how to sort of bring someone around who faints, because she was getting so sort of lightheaded and stressy. But they all know, like, they see what I do day in, day out. My girlfriend's nothing but supportive. Like, she understands elite sport. Her coming from an Olympic Taekwondo background, like, she's got a Commonwealth Games medal, and she's got Olympic qualifying medals. So like, she's always competed in high level sport, and she understands. Like, we've had a conversation about not long ago, and like, she knows this. Like, she never worries about me going in there and getting injuries. Like, she said to me after this fight, she said she understand, before this fight, she said, like, she never worries I go in there and get injured. If I went in there and broke my 2 arms, my 2 legs, and a few ribs, she wouldn't be worried about that. She just understands how much winning means to me and how much going in and beating people means. So they never worry about the injuries I get. They always just, they understand how hard I work, and they sort of try and enjoy it too.
It's amazing. And so your family watches your fights, or because I know some dudes that fight that they don't like their family watching, or their family doesn't just avoid seeing them fight. They're there through training and everything, but come fight night, they just avoid that and just wait for that phone call after. So your family does watch you perform.
Hey, we're Welsh. We're a nation of fighters. Like my great great granddad was a bare knuckle boxer. My dad used to box. My family are all fighters. Every one of my families stepped in the gym at some point. So they all understand. And yeah, they've seen me fight so many times, and they've seen me lose so many times. Like the judo, I lost so many fights, and they've seen the injuries I've had and how hard I work, and they fully support, and they never worry about me. Obviously, my mom worries I'm going to get hurt, and she always worries for the worst. But then mothers are always going to worry about their sons. But they know the deal, they know the situation, and they do nothing but support.
Awesome. Glad to hear. And as I was trying to find out a bit and dig deep in your background, I found this, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure this is you. I found a Make a Champ fundraiser from you. So that's legit. That's
17.
you right there. How old
So
are you?
just a little background before people think I'm cheap. This was when I was 17, so I'm 25 now. So what's that? 8 years ago. So 8 years ago, they were acceptable at the time to make a champ things. But I sort of wanted to change. I'd left judo behind, and I was trying to sort of go into pro boxing, and I was having difficulties in the pro boxing because I come from an Olympic judo background, and I didn't have much amateur boxing experience. The pro ranks wanted me to go back to amateurs, and the amateur ranks wanted me to take a ban because of the judo I'd done and the kickboxing and stuff. They wanted me to take a ban before I could compete. So I was sort of stuck in limbo, and the pros wanted me to go to amateur, and the amateurs didn't want me fighting, so they were trying to encourage me to go pro. So I spoke to a friend of mine who was living in Brazil, and he recommended Connection Rio, which was a hostel in Brazil for jiu-jitsu guys who would go out there to train. I inquired them about sponsorship, and they basically said, yeah, you come stay with us for free. You just have to do so-and-so, like social media duties. I said, yeah, awesome. So I didn't tell my parents because obviously they wouldn't support me going to a country like Rio, a city like Rio at 17 years of age. So I did a fundraiser to raise money for flights, and then just sort of told them, look, I'm flying to Rio in a week. And they were like, no. And I was like, yeah, I raised the money, I've got the flights, I'm going. And I sort of went, but they supported, they missed me, but I was out there for 3.5 months, 3 months, 5 days, I think, something like that.
And how was the experience? How was Rio? Because Brazil is scary, man. I mean, at least from a fighter's point of view, nobody wants to go down there and fight. Shady testing, and like, how was Brazil, man?
Uh, I loved the country, and I loved the women out there at the time, being a 17-year-old single boy. But to be fair, it was different. Like you don't fully understand how different it is until you go there. Like we were staying in Baja, which is a posh part of Rio. But being a white gringo who doesn't tan and is jet blonde hair, I used to ride my bike to just the bottom of the favelas to train. And I got knocked off my bike deliberately 3 times by people trying to drive me off the road. I almost got glassed the once when we was out, and I bumped into a certain amount of difficulties training with Brazilian men. But like a lot of the gyms were the normal jiu-jitsu gyms, they were normal Thai boxing gyms who supported me being there. But it's the same as in anyway. There was positives and negatives. But yeah, it was a scary place, but I did enjoy it. It's sort of, I like looking after myself anyway. I love cooking, and I love sort of being and seeing tropical places, and I really enjoyed myself. But to be fair, Rio's not somewhere I'd be in a rush to return to. And if any young fighters are watching this, I wouldn't recommend, especially if you're Western, go into Brazil to train or compete. I would recommend going somewhere in the States. They give you a bit of a warmer welcome, and the training's just as good.
And how did the decision of I want to go to Brazil come in instead of going to the States or anything else? Why did you choose Brazil?
Like I said, a friend of mine run a jiu-jitsu hostel there, and sort of I was poor. I was a full-time athlete at 17. I'd been doing the judo, and I decided to leave that behind. I had one sponsor, and I was earning nothing, barely anything. Like the only reason I was sort of living off the wage I was because the sponsorship was because my parents supported me so much. Like they didn't charge me board or lodge. They helped me with sort of my transportation to the gyms and stuff. Like they were really supportive. Um, so Rio was affordable for me because the exchange rate was 4-1 at the time. So for every British pound I had, it was 4 reais. So I could live off my low income out there. The accommodation was all sponsored, and my flights I raised money for. And then my dad sort of gave me a bit of money to go out with, to sort of for his emergency money for whenever I needed, which I literally used for gym fees. Like I'm not a big party guy. I used it all for gym fees. So I managed to live out there, and I'd lived a good lifestyle for 3 months while I was out there, and then I returned home.
And Brazil is quite notorious for party life, so you never went out and tried to enjoy the night there.
Oh no, I went out. I just didn't. I didn't do too much. So obviously we train solidly through the week, and then on the weekends we go out one night. So I went out like basically every weekend, one night of the week unless I was competing. I competed out there twice. Once on a Gracie challenge, which was televised in UFC Fight Pass. Actually, I can't watch that, so because it's quite embarrassing looking back at how young I was and what I was trying to do out there. But I got quite screwed over for that. Actually, it was meant to be a weigh-in at 70 kilos, and then against the guy who was the same grade as me. I was a pale belt at the time, and then they ended up. The guy who was meant to fight didn't want to fight me, so they fought me against the guy who was bigger, who was also a gringo, but he was from the Bahamas, and he was brown belt at the time, I believe. And then they changed a lot of the rules. Instead of being Gracie Challenge of timeless event, they put a time limit on the event, and like I was pressuring and chasing subs at the end, and I come close to subbing him twice, because of the time limit. I sort of missed out. And then straight away, then after that, they were like, oh, we've got another fight for him, and it was just weird. Like the situation, the way it went on, I did get gringoed a lot, and I competed at one of the Rio Nationals, and I won 2 fights, and then in the semi-finals or the quarters, I think, the quarters finals, I was up by 17 points, and then I got gringoed again. I got robbed. They DQ'd me for a what's the best way to explain it? They robbed me basically. They DQ'd me for a knee bar for a over under pass. His boy's corner was shouting something in Portuguese, and he literally looked at me, looked at the ref, and then pretended to cry out. So the ref stopped it and DQ'd me for a knee bar on the over under pass. And then literally he was celebrating, jumping up and down 2 seconds later. It was just Brazilian. It was just Brazil. Like that's where a lot of Brazilian men are like. They it's a corrupt country. It's just the way it is. But I love the sort of the beach life. I love the training, the open gyms, and I met some unbelievably nice people out there. I remember fond memories of longboarding down through Copacabana Beach, and sort of I was out there for what's it called, Copacabana. What's the Brazilian festival called? God, let me tell you now. Brazilian. Hang on. Sorry, I have to Google it because I'm terrible. Carnival. I was out there for Carnival. So it's the biggest party in the world, do you know what I mean? So we had some fond memories, and I managed to get some unbelievably training and train with some very, very top level guys. Like the Thai boxing gym I was trained out of was Eric Silver's Thai boxing gym. So I trained with some of the best people in the world.
But how was the language barrier? Did you learn any Portuguese? Or was it really a big issue?
No, to be fair, I was going to learn Portuguese. I sort of had in the back of my mind to sort of try picking it up. There was a lot of guys in the favela, in the hostels, who were practicing Portuguese, and there was a lot of Portuguese English speakers who were sort of in the hostel. If you wanted to, they would help you. So rather than speak English to them, you could try speaking Portuguese, and they'd fill in blanks, and you could learn like that. And there's a lot of women out there who were happy to sort of spend time with the gringo helping their Portuguese. But I just didn't see the need. The gyms I was training at, they were really helpful in certain aspects. And when I was going out, sort of looking for women, speaking English was better than speaking Portuguese. So the gyms I was training at, because of Connection Rio, they had a few English speakers who could help. So I was okay. The only time I sort of got unstuck a few times was when I was at the bottom of the favelas training in the gym there, and sort of like where I got knocked off my bike, I blew my tire the once and was trying to get back. Obviously, it was a couple of miles cycle, so I had to end up walking it back and dragging the bike with me until I got fixed the next day. But it was just like, looking back, I did a lot of dangerous things, and you don't even think when you're young. But it all worked out for the best.
Awesome. And now that you're at the pinnacle of Cage Warriors, everybody sees the whole organization as this catapult, right? To go up to the bigger ones. Let it be Bellator, let it be UFC.
One.
Do you think Cage Warriors will always be just a catapult, or does it have, let's not say quickly, right? But let's say long term, can it turn into one of these huge organizations, at least comparable to One or Bellator?
I don't think they're interested in that, to be fair, because like Cage Warriors, I think they've got a good situation where they build fighters up, they market them well, and it's good for turning low-level fighters into high-level threats. Like before Cage Warriors, signing to the UFC was very problematic. Like, you had to fight in American organizations. There was different ways you had to do. Like, you look at the fighters that have come through Cage Warriors. Joanna Jodajevich, I can't say her name very well, but you'll get the picture. There's been Anderson Silva competed there at one time. Conor McGregor, Mike Bisping, like all these guys have passed through. Joseph Duffy, Jack Shaw, Jack Marshman, Brett Johns recently. Sorry. But they've got this good deal where they can get away with sort of paying fighters a lower salary than they get in other organizations, because everyone always looks at the top of the tree and look down into UFC. And then that means they can run fight shows during COVID. Like, you look at the trilogy they did, they had over 60 fights over 3 nights. Like, there's no way they've made a high-level profit during that weekend. There's no way. There's no fans in attendance. They've had to pay all those fighters. They've had to pay officials. They've had to pay for government sanctions. They've had to pay for cage costs, doctors, not rappers, non-stop. Like, the amount of fees, the hotel alone, because they had a person in a bubble in isolation for 5 days. Like, the way they've done all this, if they were trying to compete with UFC and trying to pay high-level fighters, then there's just no way it would work out. There's just not. There's not enough way for investors. But doing it the way they do, where they build us over for the UFC to take us off their hands, and they've created this sort of funnel organization where, if you win a title in Cage Warriors, you go into Bellator, you go into UFC. There's that promise. Like, when I trained in Team Alpha Male, I train out in Team Alpha Male in California a lot. I love California. Like, people ask your organization, and when you say Cage Warriors, like, oh, good, that's a really good organization, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, and there's people there. Like, I've been asked if I had any connections to get European fighters into Cage Warriors and American fighters to get into Cage Warriors, because they want to get into UFC, and it's so hard in the States to get signed. Do you know what I mean? And if you're not going through the sort of contender series, you have to go through LFA or one of the other organizations, and it's a sort of more difficult route. Whereas in Europe, if you're fighting Cage Warriors, you're set. So I think they've got a really good situation going on, and they've got a really good deal. And the fact that they show on UFC Fight Pass, and they were on BT Sport, which is a massive sort of organization, television sort of broadcasting company in the UK. Hopefully they can get back onto BT Sport because of sort of coverage. It helped with a lot of sponsors and stuff. But yeah, I think Cage Warriors should just keep doing what's doing. Like, there's no need to compete with UFC. There's just no need.
And for you, like in your case, being one of the bigger names, how was Cage Warriors financially for you?
Decent. Like, they supported my costs. I didn't make a crazy amount of money, but it's just the promise of getting to sort of seeing you through to the other side. And with sponsors and stuff, like I earn decent money through fights, and it's sponsorships are the main thing you need to build up as a pro fighter. If there's any other pro fighters watching this, like, my end goal, sort of in the next couple of years, is to earn a high income salary from sponsors alone, so that I'm comfortably living off sponsorships. So that when you're not living purse to purse, you're not chasing certain stupid fights because you need the money. That means I can hunt the fights I want. I can take the fights I want against the people I want. So if I want to fight someone and they say, look, man, you're going to have to wait a couple of months until they're ready to fight again, like 3 months, I'm not going to have to take a stupid fight. I can wait for that fight comfortably, knowing that I'm going to fight a high-level opponent and that I don't have to worry about money. And that's what you need. That's the way you need to do it. So I've always marketed myself to be as marketable as possible. I've always concentrated on my social media. Like, after this weekend, I hit that magic 10K number. So it's really going to start growing now, and I can start obviously offering companies sort of publicity back for what they're offering me, and I can really start pushing those sponsorships. So I'm happy with the way everything's going, but yeah, Cage Warriors looked after me enough, and it's that promise of UFC or Bellator. So when you get there, you can start earning those money, and you can start building your retirement fund up.
Awesome. And you say you train up in Cali with Team Alpha Male. How's that like? There's some big names there. How's it like?
So the first time I went there, I was 21, I think. 21, 22. And there was some really, really big names out there. I think there was, at the time, the first time I trained, there was 27 UFC or Bellator guys competing there, including obviously Uriah Faber, Cody Garbrandt, Touchy Feely, Darren Elkins, Max Griffin wasn't there at the time, he's in now. Since then, I've gone out there multiple times. I've trained with Bellator fighters like Mike Malott and Chris Gonzalez, and there's another guy whose name I always forget. And then I trained with Risen. So before I fought for the lightweight Cage Warriors lightweight title, I was training with Tawfiq. I can't say his second name, but Tawfiq was looking at he was competing in the tournament for the lightweight Risen title, and we had a photo actually with future Risen lightweight champion and future Cage Warriors lightweight champion, and they both happened within 3 months after that photo. So or 4 months. So it worked out well for both of us, and like there's always high level guys there, and there's always big guys there. Like, I'm training with good welterweights and training with good featherweights, because I think there's a good balance. And sometimes that training with guys who are too big, or training with guys welterweights all the time, isn't as good as getting a balance between featherweights, lightweights, and welterweights, because featherweights fight differently to a welterweight's going to fight. Lighter guys, they move more, they're more dangerous, they're wrestling exchanges, and they're quicker on the exchange, whereas welterweights, they hit harder, they're stronger, they sort of wrestling style is more grind you down and keep you down. And then lightweights are a good mix of both. So as a lightweight, it's perfect to get this balance in between training with feathers, lightweights, and welters.
And how different is the UK from the United States, especially California? I mean, California's crazy. I lived in San Jose for quite a long time, and it's beautiful. And you already mentioned you're a beach dude. You got the bay there, you got the beaches. How different is the US from the UK?
Wales, it's an unbelievably beautiful country. We've got unbelievable castles here, but it just rains all the time, and it's always cold. So I don't know the difference between Celsius and degrees, but an average weather for us is, let me convert that for you actually, 5 degrees. Celsius to Fahrenheit. So we normally go from between 40 to 50 Fahrenheit, I think it is. Yeah, 40 to 50 Fahrenheit. So it's always quite cold. I mean, that's 5 Celsius to 10 for us, so it's really cool. And it's always raining, so to get out to Cali and enjoy the sunshine and be able to train with high-level guys is perfect. Like, if I could, when I get to that point where everything's working out for me, I'd love to spend half my time in California and half my time in Britain. So I do my summers, my UK summers here, and then I do my winters in Cali, just to sort of get the benefits of both. And my girlfriend loves California, and we love Sacramento. Like, we've been to San Jose, we've been to San Francisco, and we've seen a certain amount of areas around there, and like I like Sacramento because there's nothing going on. It's the most chilled out place I've ever been to, and like on the Sundays we get to go see the State Building and walk on the parks and on the Golden Bridge. It's not the Golden Gate Bridge; it's another one in Sacramento, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's gold. I know that. But
Yeah.
it's nice. Do you know what I mean? It's chilled out, and it's like it's perfect for fight camps. Do you know what I mean? It's like a really chilled environment. The road systems are nice. The weather's gorgeous, and like it's really easy to get to and from the gym, and everyone's in one place. So it's just a perfect setup for training camps for us. So we both love it. My girlfriend loves loves the lifestyle as well. So we'd love to get a good balance. My girlfriend currently is working as a lawyer. She's working through her last bit of her degree to be a lawyer. And then she's either going to go into detectives or she's going to aim to pass the bar. And I think she wants to go, and when we're out in Cali, she wants to try and work on the Innocence Project a lot and try and help out that way. So it would work out good for her as well, especially if I can get this good salary going. So she's happy, I'm happy. So it's just ticking the boxes, dotting my I's, crossing my T's, and getting everything sorted.
Well, that sounds like wedding bells. Are you planning soon on that?
Not yet. Give me a couple of years. I'm still 25, so I'm still nice and young. But yeah, I mean, like she's unbelievable. She's so supportive, and we've been together for nearly 3 years now. So we haven't been together too long, but long enough for us to know it still works well, and we're both really, really happy. So one day, definitely.
Awesome. And being the first champ since, or actually just the second, right? Since Conor McGregor, how does it feel to be put into that zone and these comparisons? And just how does it feel to even be mentioned in the same sentence as someone as great as Conor?
Well, there was three. I'm the third ever champion in Cage Warriors, the double champ. Obviously, Dan Hardy was first, who's, do you know what I mean? He's still massive in the UFC now. Then there was Conor McGregor, who again still massive in the UFC now, whether he's retired or not. And then there's going to be Mason the Dragon Jones, and I'm going to go on to the same sort of thing. I really appreciate the way Conor sort of marketed himself and how he sort of went about his career. And if I can emulate him in that respect, be as successful as he was, then I'd count that as a massive success. But I'm going to go out there to set my own legacy, to set my own foundations, and to walk my own path. So, sorry, I don't want my name connected to anyone like that, because I know it's hard to shake off sometimes. I want it to be Mason Jones, or Mason did that. You want to be like Mason, the way Mason did it, and that's the way I'm going to do it. So it's just about going out there and making my name well known.
And this thing about Connor is that's just a one-time thing, right? Like that's never going to happen again. And it's not like someone sees what Connor does going against the UFC, having these fights and confrontations with the boss. I mean, that it works out for him for some crazy
Yeah.
reason, but it's not recommendable for anyone to take that path. I mean, that was just a one-time thing.
No,
We're
I
never
agree.
going to see another Conor McGregor, right?
Well, again, why would they want to be another Conor McGregor? Because when you do something twice, it's never as good as the first time. Do you know what I mean? So everyone's got to set their own path, and they've got to set their own route, and they've got to do everything themselves. Like you see too much of it in UFC now, where everyone wants to be the shit talker, everyone wants to be the loudmouth, making noise in the back of the room and sort of appealing to those people. But there's other ways around it. Do you know what I mean? Like be exciting outside the cage, of course. Be exciting inside the cage, but like Donald Cerrone's done well for himself. Like he's got a bit of a 50-50 record now, but like that guy lives an exciting lifestyle. He's just not as vocal the way he does it. So like if he'd marketed himself better, again, Donald Cerrone could be massive. Like there's all these guys who sort of they fight the fight and they walk the walk, but they don't sort of show it to the world. And if that's the way you want to do it, that's fine. But I do believe in modern times you have to make sure that people know exactly what's going on in your life. So I'm setting stuff in place as much as I can. My family, they're switched on when it comes to business sense. My girlfriend's, like I said, highly intelligent. So they're all pushing on me about different ways to sort of market myself and how I can make myself appealing as possible. Because I can fight. Obviously, I can fight. I'll be able to compete with high-level opponents up until the top 10. I think I can start, especially as I'm improving every time, I'll be able to smash those people. If not now, then one day. But this isn't just a fighting sport. No matter how people appeal it, it's not a fighting sport. This is a business, and you have to be a product. And product management is one of the most difficult, but is one of the most rewarding things in the world. So it's all about how I market myself and how I make myself known and how I go about my fights. And it's not just about going in there and winning. That's the difficult part about UFC. You could go in there and you could win 7 fights in the trot and no one will care. You have to go in there and you have to win, but you have to win excitingly. And that's what I like. It's the going in there, and winning's not enough. Winning is never enough. You have to tear people apart. You have to show the good fighters and nowhere near on your level. You have to take them apart and make them look average.
And it's funny that you mention it because it's 100% true. Don Cerrone, his life outside of the cage, I think he's in more danger when he's not in the cage,
Crazy.
right?
Yeah.
And if he used that to be a bit more marketable, I mean, he'd be even more huge than what he is now.
Yeah.
Another dude, Stipe Miocic, I mean, baddest man on the
Stipe.
planet, right?
Yeah.
A full-time firefighter, in between fights. That's highly marketable, and for some reason, he's not as popular as he should be. But going back to Cerrone, he has all these crazy hobbies, cave diving, surfing, you name it, right? Do you have any crazy hobbies you do in between fights, or are you just based in camp
Well,
or training?
I'm big in camp. I love motorbikes. Again, I would have had my own motorbike, but the money I saved up for that, I ended up spending on a training camp to California. So I don't have a bike at the moment, but I love motorbikes. I'm always taking my dad's out whenever he's not around. Now he's bought a new one. I'm not allowed to touch that, so it's a bit big for me. He's bought a Triumph. Oh God, what's it called? But it's big. It's way too big for me. It's like 200 and something kilos, fully fueled. So it's way too big. I prefer the smaller sort of cafe racer style bikes. So yeah, I love riding bikes. I was skydiving a lot. I got my solo skydiving license, and then with everything and pressure from my parents and stuff, I sort of had to stop doing it because it was like I nearly snapped my ankle again leading up to a fight, and it was like, look, you have to stop doing stupid shit. So I stopped. Motorbike, skydiving, like surfing, if I get the opportunity. Obviously coming from Wales, I'm not the best surfer in the world, but I surfed in France and I surfed a little bit in Brazil. So
Ali's huge in surf, right?
Yeah. I just no in like I'm not good, but I'll have a go. I like sort of I snowboard a lot. I'm quite good snowboarding actually, to be fair. We go away snowboarding a lot. I meant to be going away in December, but I had to cancel because of the whole you need to get into UFC and you need to stop doing stupid stuff. So I've had to stop snowboarding so much. Like that can come on later in my career. But yeah, snowboarding, motorbikes, skydiving. Like I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie myself, but it's being rational. And like I know Cerrone come out and said before that like something like 60% or 70% of his injuries have been from outside MMA. Like he's not been injured as much in MMA as he has from his other hobbies. So that's not sort of reliable. And MMA is a young man's sport. Like when you start coming into your 30s, you need to start finding a way out. So there's always time in my 30s for me to go and embrace the world and see different things. And I'll be able to skydive. I'll be able to ride motorbikes. I'll be able to drive fast cars, surf, snowboard, do whatever I want when I got money. So at the minute, I'm happy just to grind and I'm happy just to fight whoever's there.
Awesome. And right now, for the final part, I have a few questions that the listeners of the pod got for you. So they're a bit random. They're always pretty random. So I'll start shooting. The first one, I think we already covered it. It says, "Do you party a lot?" I know you say you're not a party dude. Is that due to you just being so committed to training, or were you just never really into the party life?
I know I like partying. I just I stopped drinking young, and then I started going out sober. So I was a designated driver for a lot of my friends. Because a lot of time I go out on Saturdays and then I'd rock up the train and have to sleep in for like 3 hours. I prefer to be like I could get away with being sleep deprived, but obviously you could never get away with trying to train drunk. It was just nowhere. It was no way acceptable for me. So I stopped drinking quite young. I've been completely sober for like 3.5 years now. So I've never been big on that. But I used to love partying. I love going out. Like I went to Ibiza 2 years ago. We ended up going there for a week. I don't think I slept the entire week, but I didn't drink. I drank a little bit, but I think it must have been 3 years ago then, because it was one of the last times I drank. But yeah, so I do love partying, but I don't think as a pro athlete you should drink. I just don't see the need, and recovery and stuff, like it can stay in your system for up to a week when you're training a lot. It can sort of affect you. like in the end, I stopped going out so much because the sleep deprivation was making training difficult. Obviously, in camp, I never went out. I was always a good boy in camp, but it's fun to enjoy yourself, but you have to be smart. So again, when I'm older, when I'm in my late 30s and I'm done with the UFC and my MMA career's behind me, I can go out and I can drink and do whatever I want as much as I want. So I can always party in the late years if I want to, but at the minute I'm happy staying sober and staying away from it.
All right. Let's see. Next question says, what was your first fight? Let it be within a sport or not, and how did it go?
Kickboxing. I believe it was kickboxing when I was about 9 years of age. I think I won.
You think you won?
It was a long time ago. I've competed in hundreds and hundreds of matches, so I'm pretty sure I won. I used to win the kickboxing quite a lot. I got robbed a little bit, but a lot of time I used to win. But I've competed in kickboxing, nogi, traditional jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, judo, boxing, MMA, obviously, as well as what else I competed in. A sort of taekwondo. I competed in like a stand-up multi combat venue. So I competed against some kickboxers, some taekwondo fighters, and different things. And I love competing in everything I've done. Like I've competed in hundreds and hundreds of matches and different things. And like nine is a long time ago. Like I said, I'm 25, so it's for 15, 16 years ago. Long time.
All right. Next question says, if Hollywood made a movie about you, who would you like to see play the lead role as you?
Chris Hemsworth. Got to be Chris Hemsworth. Got to be.
Chris Hemsworth. All right. Second one says, let's see. I lost the question. Oh, here it is. Do you prefer to end a fight via KO or a sub?
Either. I love both sides of the fight. Whether it's the jiu-jitsu, whether it's the striking, I just love fighting and I love finishing people. So TKO appeals to more people, so I do try and keep my fights on the feet, but I'll finish anyway.
All right. And it says, if you were on an island and you only had one person to invite to live there, who would you pick and why?
Oh, that's a difficult one. It probably won't be my girlfriend because we'd probably kill each other if we were stuck on an island with nothing there for her. No, I'm not sure on that one. That's a good question. If I was on an island, God, I know someone who's probably good at survival would probably help. Someone who help us build a raft or something. So I don't know, something like that. That's a boring answer, but yeah, we'll go for that.
All right. And last one says, how big are you on spirituality and manifestation within your career?
Massive. Obviously, spirituality, not so much, but manifestation, I'm massive on. I do believe in the power of sort of vision and sort of making your dreams, your visions come true. The sort of power of the mind, I'm big on. I do a lot of image boards. I do a lot of vision boards. I do a lot of sort of visualization and goal setting. And I'm big on that. If you set a goal and you chase it enough and you believe in it, you will make that sort of manifest itself. And I think to be a fighter and to be confident in what you do, you need to have that positive mental attitude. You need to have that positive mentality. And I think there's way too many people hung up on sort of negative mentalities and sort of focusing on trying to pull other people down to make themselves look better. And I believe just to be a better person, you should always just focus on yourself and focus on making yourself the best version of it that you can be.
Awesome. And this is the last one. Actually, scroll down. It says, you're about to go head to head with 100 people in front of a live audience. The prize is $1 million if you can do one single thing better than every person there. What is it that you can do excluding fighting?
God, that's a fantastic question. I don't know. That's really put me on the spot. I can backflip quite well. I'm quite good at doing backflips. So let's go with a backflip because at least I know a lot of people can't do that. Quite explosive a spot. So yeah, let's go with backflipping. I can throw a gnarly backflip.
All right, backflips. Well, there you have it. Hey, Mason, it's been amazing, man. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I'm gonna give you this last segment. Let the people know where to find you. Let them know what's up. What are your plans? How's your future looking? The stage is yours, man.
Thank you so much. So I was gonna give me 2 seconds. Let me just get my sponsors up so I actually know I don't miss anyone out.
Yeah, sure.
Because I do this all the time and I always forget. Here we go. So big shout out to my sponsors first of all. Hang on. Oh, that's not working. So big shout out to my sponsors, PP Builders, SD Sealants, CCS Scaffolding, Tatami Fightwear, Precision Hydration, Candor Talent. I think that's mainly most of them. Find me on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram, at Mason Jones 95. It's my profile picture is me with 2 belts. So you should be able to find me. I'm also on Facebook at Mason the Dragon Jones. And I'm on Twitter at Mason Jones 1995. So take a look at my profile, drop me a message, get in touch. I try to reply to every single person. So if I've answered any questions or if there's anything you want to ask, feel free to drop me a link and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But yeah, thanks for the support and thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome anytime, man. I'm really excited to see what the future brings, and thank you for making the time for it, man. Had a great time. Had a blast.
Anytime. Anytime. Me too. Thanks for the brilliant questions as well. It's genuinely really good questions.
Thank you very much. Peace, Mason.
You too. Bye, bye.